Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. Oh, strange things indeed they do happen in this world. If you have any confession that you want to share with us, you can use the WhatsApp number. I'll try to put it in the description box as well. Then you can reach out to me. Then you can just send your confession on my number. So the following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that I received. The translation, it reads like this. So even though I had been working as a prostitute, I had heard stories about some men, especially your white men. They will offer you money. Then some of them, they can try to make you to sleep with a horse, or someone can try to make you sleep even with a cat. So I really did not believe that someone can pay you a lot of money so that you can sleep with an animal, because what will they get out of it? I did not even know that there were people like they do not have feelings to sleep with women. They would rather see a woman sleeping with an animal. I really never thought that it was going to happen to me, even with the dangers of being a prostitute. So I am here and I want to share with you my own story. It is not easy to admit what happened, but I have to tell someone, at least someone that does not know me, and also to give a warning to the women out there, like it is not nice to be a prostitute. Let me get it off from my chest. So the money, it really seems good, but when you think of the things that you have to do each and every time, it becomes really hard, especially when I close my eyes. It's like I see the dog, that Pitbull that the man made me to sleep with, the Pitbull's eyes staring back at me. It's like I start to hate myself for the things that I did because of money. My name, you can call me Zanele, not a real name, and I'm working as a hooker here in Johannesburg. It's not something that I am proud of, but it's how I survived for the past few years. Life has not been easy to me because I come from a dysfunctional family. Never knew my dad, and my mom, she had other kids with different fathers. So I was abused at a very young age and I left home. So when I left home, I was struggling to make ends meet. All that I wanted was to get a job. And then when I failed to get a job, I ended up being on the streets. It's not like I was homeless. There was a girl that I was staying with. So me and this girl, we had known each other when we were still in high school. All of a sudden, she started making money. Whenever she would come to the location, I'll see that indeed the girl, she is glowing. So I started staying with her at her apartment. And then she introduced me to this thing of prostitution. The money that I was making from working, it helped me to pay my rent and feeding me. And now it keeps me going. So every night when I do it, I tell myself that I'll find a way out. But every morning when I wake up, it's the same reality because the money is never enough. You might be making a lot of money, but still it won't be enough. So about 2 months ago, something happened that changed everything. It was a regular night. I was standing on a corner in Braamfontein, hoping to make enough to pay off some bills. I had just finished with one client when a car pulled up next to me. It was a fancy car, something expensive with tinted windows. I could not see who was inside at first, so I kept on looking and looking because all the girls that were with me, we wanted to see who the guy was going to point at. But when the window rolled down, that was when the man pointed at me, and I saw him, a middle-aged white man, well dressed with a calm but unsettling expression on his face. He looked at me for a few seconds before speaking, and he was like, "How much for the night?" he asked, and I hesitated. Something about him, it's like made me to feel uneasy, but at the same time, I thought of taking advantage. So usually for the whole night, we can charge somewhere between 1.2 to 1.5 depending with the guy. If it is a foreign guy, usually they pay more, around 1.5, but if it is a local guy, definitely they will refuse to pay a lot of money. They'll say that 1.2 is too much. So when I saw that it was a white man, I said, let me try to push my luck. Then I said, how about you give me 2,000? I said, but I did not have so much confidence in my heart because I knew that it was a lot what I was asking for. That was when he surprised me. He said, okay, I'll pay you 6,000, get in the car, but I want you to make me feel special. Is it okay with you? When he said 6,000, I said, that is a lot of money. I panicked. That was more than money that I can make even in a week. So I said, let me do it, but something special. Then I got into the car. When I was in the car, I said, what do you want? I thought that as he was driving, he wanted me to give him like a blowjob. But he said, no, wait until we get home. And when we were traveling, he did not talk that much. And that was when we arrived at his place. When we arrived at his place, he then made me to take a shower first. He said, I want you to clean yourself up because I want you to show me what you can do. We arrived at his home and I saw that we were in Santon at his house. His house was massive, a modern mansion that is really beautiful. We got inside and I could not help feel like I had entered a castle, like into another world. Like the place, it was gorgeous and spotless. And then he led me into the living room where he poured himself a drink and he gestured for me to sit. And I sat down feeling small and out of place in the middle of all of that wealth. He told me that he wanted me to freshen up first because he wanted this night to be special for him, as if he was celebrating something else. So after I had freshened up, I returned back and I saw that he was already naked. But what bothered me was his dog. I am someone who is scared of dogs. And it was a Pitbull, worst of all. And this guy, he was just sitting there, calm, whilst he was naked. He then said, do you want a drink? He asked, as he was looking at my body from head down to my toes. I shook my head and I said, no thanks. I would rather just know what you want me to do. He said, fair enough. I'll be honest with you. What I want is not something that you usually do. He said as he was he said it as he was laughing really weird. And I was like, what do you mean? He stood up and then he called his dog and he was like, come here, boy. And then him and his pit bull, they came to the place where I was seated. This dog, from the moment that I entered into that room, it's like it was waiting for that moment. He then said, this is what I want, as he was nodding towards the dog. I want you to sleep with him. When he said that, I want you to sleep with the dog, I froze and I said, what kind of sex is this going to be? I'll pay you, he said. I'll pay you 6,000 Okay, let me pay you first. You don't have to do anything else, just this one thing. We can sleep peacefully throughout the night. Just do it. Only one round with my dog. I wanted to scream, to run, to get as far away from that house as possible. But instead, I sat there because I was thinking about a lot of things. I was really scared in that moment. If you are not interested, you can leave, he said. But the money is yours if you stay, he said as he was dragging back the money that he had placed on the couch. I did not move. My mind was racing, trying to make sense of the situation. 6K. Should I walk away? That was enough to pay and to settle most of my bills. It was more money than I had ever seen all at once in a long time. All that I had to do was to make one round with this dog. I felt sick to my stomach, but I did not leave. I was thinking about the money, thinking about how hard life had been for me, and wondering if I could survive without doing this. My hands were shaking, my throat was like dry, and all that I could think about was how much I needed, and all that I could think about was how much I needed the cash. What is it going to be? He asked me again. I don't know for how long I sat there. One thing about this guy, he was patient with me. Eventually, maybe after about 20 minutes or so, I made my decision. I nodded, unable to speak. I felt numb, like I was not even in my body anymore. It was like I had shut down. I disconnected from the reality of what I was about to do. That night was the worst night of my life. I don't even want to go into the details of what happened. I can't tell you how I slept with that dog. All I can say is that I felt like a part of me was dying. I was not a human. This dog was used to it. When it was over, early in the morning, I left the house. I had the money, but I did not feel good. For days after that, I stayed in my apartment, refusing even to go outside. It was very hard knowing that I had slept with a dog, an animal, and that thing had ejaculated into my private parts. Till this day, I cannot find myself forgiving myself because of the things that I did. This is my own confession. I don't know if there are other women out there who have came across the same thing that I came across. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our admins. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world.